Thank you. I think that topic given is, and I think looking at the attendees, actually I was initially preparing to just throw some lights and in terms of giving some ideas and then switch off, because in the I was thinking that my presentation will be in the main frame. And when I said that no, you have to speak in the workshop, it makes it a little difficult, because there will be, you need to actually show what exactly it is. So actually I changed the title. There's a reason, because it was new thinking and I made it the smart way, so that because I need to tell you something, what I am telling, what is new. Now, industrial engineering probably one of the most stickiest today in terms of topic, in terms of the problem, what we face, or I don't know, because I think probably more we say about it and still they'll not be complete. I think if asked that how many people have IE as a department in your organization, 50%? As a department you have. How many of you have work study engineer in your IE department? Okay. Do you feel there is a shortage of good work study engineers in the market? Okay. Now, why this scenario? Why we are saying that there is a need, but then there is a demand? You have a department, you have a, even though second question you did not ask, you didn't answer really that whether you have or not, but yes, there is a demand. There is a, I think, unavailability of the young professionals who wanted to work as IE. Is it true? Because I can see there are a lot of young professionals. Okay, still not decided. Available IE professionals often do not meet the requirements of factories, because I hear quite often, I have interviewed so many and nobody fits the requirement, but that means there is a requirement, but whoever is hopping from one factory to another, but you are not happy. And probably some of the people who are doing good is the third option, even though it is expensive, but that's where probably they are quite settled down. They say, okay, it's doing something. And the fourth one is, I say, probably the most disturbing, because even if somebody says that I will try to train you, a professional training, but probably what I see today with my students, I think I don't know, because probably some of you will be there some point of time, my students, they are not really keen. They may not say it openly here, but the fact is that they are not keen. There is a reason behind it. Now let's say if we say that why such scenario, why the people are not really keen, conducting time study, which is one part of the work study really, and that's what probably the most commonest people say, it's cumbersome and boring. If not difficult, it's not difficult though, but it is boring, obviously. Do you agree with me? Okay, those guys who do it. And probably the other alternative, which is using PMTS, the tragedy is that it only comes with they don't train people to use PMTS. If you buy the solution, then they'll train as a package deal. That's what I feel, which is wrong, but I could not convince any of these guys who sell PMTS system to train otherwise without selling the software, or without selling the codes basically. And probably that's what my feeling. And if some of many of the young people is feeling hurt by the word easy, probably they want it the smarter way to do. They don't really want the way probably we have done, standing in the shop floor and sweating it out with that board and to do the time study and then do the calculation. Probably it's It's no more their cup of tea. If that is the scenario, now what is happening, see, and why probably we are landing into a scenario which is, even though we do not want it, but that's what is happening. When young professionals are forced to work in the shop floor, probably there is a switchover is happening and many of them is switching over because that's not that cup of tea, and they, as I said, that is not the easier option, but probably the smarter option is, and so they switch over to other professions, even though they have been trained in that, let's say production area, but they switch over. And there is I think there's a bit of confusion whether we need a IE should have a manufacturing expertise, or can you have IE which is coming from any generic IE engineers, whether they can deliver in apparel industry. There is a if we start the argument, then there will not be end of it, but there are different opinions. And another, I think the last one is again the disturbing trend is that if you look at engineering course admissions, probably one of the best IE engineering, let's say, institute is NITI. I don't know how many people, probably some of you are aware. It's, the admissions are, because there's only one probably, and in otherwise in the engineering courses, production engineering is not really a sought after course. Now, if you're talking about a situation which is as, I'm not saying as bad, but yes, if it's as challenging as it is, now let's look at the other scenario. How many of you sitting here is or probably using your Facebooks? Probably 30% in your smartphone. I'm talking about within this room. And the same scenario even in the classes, remember. In the same scenario even in the organizations which are struggling, probably, that should we allow, should we not allow. Again the question, I am drawing this corollary because we need to understand that there is a change has happened in the young generations, and because we cannot expect the way we did and they are going to do it. Now, have we taken any steps to control? Is anybody in their organizations has banned using Facebook during the work hours? Anybody raise your hand? Knowing fully, okay, banned in the work hours, they don't do it. That means you take their smartphone, or how do you do that? You can't do that, right? Now, if that is the scenario, I'm saying that is what is the option. And the why I am telling this probably is I have felt that there is a need for understanding the young generation and probably tune ourselves towards their requirement or their likeliness. So what choice do we have? Probably we need to change the way we think. Now let's do very quickly that what exactly was or what exactly is IE. Now this is a very typical three idiots type of definition, but please go through this. And I made it like this so that easier to read. Neither don't expect me that I will remember this. I don't think anybody will. But yes, that's the definition. And if you see this, probably the CEOs will think what is left out. Even the lean practitioners think that what is left out. If IE can do all this, then there should be only IE guys, right? This is one such definition. I have found the biggest one actually. Then there can be smaller than that also. But yes, the fact is that if nobody wanted to do the dirty jobs, if you see the last, even everything lean, everything is included. There, I do not think anything is left out in this definition. Okay. Now, if you look further what all they're supposed to do, let's do it little organized way, then probably again I'm not saying that you should remember, I'm saying just if you think about the magnitude of the work we are expecting out of the IEs, I'm actually looking at one word from this, and that word is this. Now, probably one of the things what they do is work study, and that's where I am trying to tell you that how probably that portion can be done the little smarter way. And if that helps the young generation to still keep on doing the time study, which they are otherwise shunning away from. Now, if you say what is work study, it is a, let's say, constitutes of two parts. One is actually measuring the time. Again, the very boring definitions, but it's basically one is measuring time, another is measuring the methods. Or so, which typically we call either methods and time study or motion and time study. Sometimes it's called time and motion study, but this should be the correct way of saying because the motion comes first. And again, now in the motion, anybody in this room in the factories, not as a classroom situation. Classroom situation, student has no choice, like the teachers like us, whether they like or not, they will still do it. I'm saying in the factory, anybody does motion study. Good, only one hand up. Okay, good. Oh, no, there's so many. I hope they are not from one factory. Okay, yeah, that shows, yeah, because it cannot be so many factories doing motion study. Now, in the traditional work study, if we do,
the fast sliding is also is not applicable to all. Fast slides.
Okay, yeah, majority. Now, we generally, when you try to do time study, we do a cumbersome element breakdown of the operations, like which means picking up this part from the left side and putting it there, and then so from this angle to that angle, this point to that point, and then turn or whatever it is. That's we call element breakdown. That is one of the first step. Then we need to do also the operator rating, which I do not think anybody actually does it because it's very, very difficult to do. Method study is generally not done. I'm saying generally with due regards to the people who are doing it, that's not don't take offense on that. I'm just saying majority of the people, they do not do it. Targets are decided based on certain hypothetical PMTA standards. A lot of people say, okay, this is the GSD standard, we have taken 65 of that and that, which is a very, very common practice of doing any of the standard, picking it up and then just factoring it to your factories, what suits you, and then you are done. You have the chart ready with you. Generally, the last point what I want to say, the needle running time, handling time during sewing, and loading and unloading time are generally not known separately. We are basically breaking down into elements, but actually really not looking at the macro picture of that how much time needle is running, how much time is needle not running. Generally the tools used, why there are two stopwatches? And how many people use decimal stopwatch? She is the consultant, so I discount that. That's because that's the problem. Even when I send my students to the market, they don't get it because difficult is that using this, that's the reason the people or the students feel very, very tired or cumbersome or boring because very difficult to use this, and whether they should be using this, but this is not really available in the market. Even the digital ones are not this. If anybody is seeing that digital ones, but those are also not this, those are all this, which is divided into 60, whether we should be using divided by 100 so that is easier to calculate in the decimal way. But yes, choice is not there, so we have no other choice. Otherwise, these boards are I do not think anybody uses such ergonomically shaped boards or whatever. These are, we have in our lab that's different, but generally maybe a square board. Again, a very, very detailed, you need to fill it up. Anybody, there will be a variation of this chart, whether they're supposed to put the reading and then they calculate the T going back in the desk, they can do it. Then there will be foreign elements, these, that. It's a one operation with a duration of, let's say, 35 seconds. And if you need to do 30 cycles and do the calculation fully, it's going to take easily 30 minutes. Okay. Now, if a style is having 20 operations, so it's a lot of time. Okay. And probably sometimes feel, is it worth doing that? That's what the question is, and probably we seniors or veterans, push or force the students to do it, or expect the people to do it. But only problem is probably whether they cannot ask, they cannot really tell. But their question is it really worth doing this effort? Digital time study boards, which were there in the market for long time, but I don't think anybody uses that, which actually takes care of a little bit of all this very difficult hand-eye coordination. Those can be taken care, you just keep on pressing the buttons, and which really solves little bit of ease of collecting the data, that's all, nothing else. I'm saying do it the smarter way. Basically we need to track how much time that operation has taken. We can actually collect the data directly from the sewing machine about a cycle of the operation and cycles and cycles of operation, and note it down in the computer, recorded in the computer, and a pure Excel format, which will going to show you the x-axis is showing the seconds. I can collect the data every 1 second, every half a second, every 2 seconds, depending on how much accuracy you want. And this is the speed it gives. If you see, this did not give any speed going, or on average it's basically less than 2000. This is just an example of an operation. The what exactly, this is the smart, so you do not need to stand in front of the sewing machine. And also there is an additional problem of standing and collecting. If the operator is smarter, he or she will slow down when you collect the data. If the operator is not smarter, he might pace up. So and there are a lot of inconveniences. People feel very discomfort. The threads will break more than normal because somebody is actually collecting data, all such things. This non-evasive, and you can collect multiple at a time. So you do not just, you need to plug on and then come back. Yes, there will be then skinning or filtering the data is all the foreign elements can be taken out, but that you can do it sitting in computer. Now, if you look at the traditional motion study, which except the few in the audience, probably majority of them do not practice it. Still, if you see there's one method, there are 18 different, let's say, tools or symbols you need to remember, and then you actually see an operation. You can do a video, obviously. I think in motion study, majority of the people actually take a video and at least sit in the desk and do it. They do not stand and try to do the motion study. If you want, we can. I do not think we need to play the video. And then the commonly followed practice for motion study, if generally the people do, is they make right and left hand chart and use at least these 4 symbols. And actually what transpires, this is one operation, right and left hand chart, which continues from serial number 1 to 35 different steps, and which actually taken by one of my students 1 hour 45 minutes to make one motion studies chart for one operation. I'm basically emphasizing that whether this effort is worth or not. Now, I think we need to think about that, think differently. Now, let's see that what all do we need and what we can do. Do we really need the element breakdown process? Probably the hardcore industrial engineers we can have argument. I know I don't have too much of time, people will get busy on the lunch, so I'm safe. There will not be too much of argument. Can we not categorize the time into needle running and handling or non-run? And then further categorize the handling time into some other element if that is enough? Do we really need to categorize the motion into these 18 categories or even 4 categories? Or can we not simply categorize the hand motion into shoulder, elbow, wrist level? The people who do little bit of ergonomic analysis, they know generally when you move your hands like that, it takes more time. If you move your hands like that, less time, and if you move your wrist, less time. It's basically common sense is try to restrict the hand movement in the lower segment, that's all. So why not do the motion analysis based on that? And then try to focus that what is the benchmark, what you wanted to do, rather than going by the way what traditionally people are doing. And how important is the speed of the hand movement and the distance traveled. Any of the motion study what we did, the right and left hand chart, we have not captured how much distance the hand moved, neither what distance it moved. Difficult to do. But we have some smarter solution probably you can do. I will just quickly run through a case what we did. And before that I would like to thank 2 companies I am not naming who has helped us to collect the data, put our systems there and then we could do the analysis. My colleague Deepak Pangal and one of the student of MFT who has did little bit of legwork for doing this, Amandeep Singh. Now see what we did. We collected data from 2 factories, 8 different sewing operations, 5 different operators with varying skill level in each sewing operations. So that which means that if we selected one operation, in that company only we said you tell us, you give us the best till next best and till the worst. That means 5 different skill level people in each of the operations. So we have 40 operators actually, and we have collected on average our target was 30s and then plus minus has happened even within after collecting the data in the through computer also we have little bit of variation. So I am saying 25 to 30. What gave us basically a 40 operators with 1000 sewing cycle data? It's plus thousands actually. I think probably it is which is enough data I have to prove a point that what I am trying to say now. Sewing cycle can easily be and automatically be categorized into 4 distinct time zones, which is loading, needle running, and very importantly, this is I wanted to emphasize handling during sewing. There are 2 types of handling. One when you are loading and when you are unloading, that's fine, which is in the beginning and the end. But during the sewing happening, that means we are stopping and doing some manipulation. That's the 3rd category, which is handling during sewing. And believe me, if any of these hardcore so-called orthodox industrial engineers in this room, I'm not an industrial engineer, we actually follow 2 contrary, let's say guidelines. Element breakdown says that try to break down the elements sewing and non-sewing separately. Then another guideline says try to break it down into such smaller elements so that you can time. And typically I can give an example, a pocket attaching in a shirt, if I break down into sewing and non-sewing separately, it will be so fast that you will not be able to time. So the people generally combine sewing and pivoting together in a step. So ultimately we are defeating the guidelines given by the work study logic itself. So I'm saying, coming out from this, I'm only saying that you categorize the timing only in these 4 categories. And one of the very, very probably, I will not say disturbing, but probably it is a revelation of what we have realized. I said in the beginning that actually we do not do, anybody does rating of the operators in their factory. Anybody does rating of operators in their factory? 1 hand up, 2 hand up, 3. Okay, so probably 3 factories, which is actually a good number if you say. See, rating is you are trying to understand the pace of the workers, rhythm of the workers, and a lot of other factors, which are a pure industrial engineer with years of expertise has to be there in the similar field to say, as long as I have not seen somebody showing a sleeve placket in 30 seconds, and if my idea of seeing it doing in 50 seconds, probably in my horizon, that is the best operator. Till I see something in 15 seconds, probably I will say, oh, that is the best operator. Because this is comparative, it's very, very difficult to do a pure rating exercise, and none of this, unless if anybody is doing synthetic rating, which is comparing with this, any of this PMTS, which is, I'm not touching. Pure rating is very, very difficult. What we did is, we have actually used the data which is collected from the computer, and we have used a proprietary software to actually come out with a rating, and every sewing operator actually is rated, given a marks out of 100. And the difference like 47 and 57 out of 100, otherwise from the video of the operation you will not be able to make out who is good, who is bad. I cannot actually rate a very good and very bad is easily recognizable, but a very minor difference also it can capture. I will tell you later that what factors we have used. So it is possible to rate operators without any IE experience. Basically, purely the data is fed into the program and they gave the marks. And the result here, what we did the clinical testing with these 2 companies. Out of 40 operators, like as I told you that we told the companies that you give us, you know only that who is good, who is best and who is worst and who is in between. You record and we collect the data. We do the analysis and we'll tell you, now according to computer these are the ranks, and you then match and tell me whether the computer is right or wrong. Out of 40, 37 operators came out to be right. But only one problem currently with this, what we have, we can only compare multiple operator in one operation. Like if somebody is doing pocket attaching, now I can, in pocket attaching, who is what I can do, but a pocket attaching good operator and a collar attaching good operator, that currently cannot be done, but that need to be, differently do the programming. Fact 3 which came out from this experiment. It is possible to, as I told you, objectively and automatically measure the speed and distance traveled by the sewing operator's hand during the operation cycle. How much did the wrist level move? Wrist level means wrist and down. How much is the elbow level moved? That means elbow and down. How much is the shoulder level moved? All this we can automatically calculate. I'll show you with using a software, and also at what speed. We can also calculate the what angle, but we did not do it for this exercise, but the software can also do the calculation of this. The theory of thinking goes like that, as I told you, which earlier I have explained that, longer the arm movement you do, the more the time is going to take. So I'll show you a video. If you see a marker has been put on this operator's hand, just to enable the software to do the tracking. See, if I tell you that, tell me what is the hand movement happening at different level, let's say wrist level and forearm level and the shoulder level, you do whatever chart possible. 1 minute, there are 2 videos. Yes, sorry. You see that computer is tracking the blue color. This is automatically been done using the softwares, and it will automatically generate the speed at which it is moving. And right now it is only doing the wrist level because the tag is attached to this video, but we can attach the tag at any level. We have, for this experiment, we have only done at the wrist level, but we can do it in any level if we put the tag in different. This is simple. This tag is not a technology. It's basically the software only tags, it tracks the color. Just to differentiate it between the body color and the surrounding, we have given a very, let's say, bright post-it tag has been attached to that in the wrist. That's all. Nothing else. There is no too much of science or technology or whatever. Another very interesting, probably everybody of us knows that generally the sewing time and non-sewing time is, sewing time is around 20 to 30 and non-sewing is 70 to 80. Is there anybody knows any other ratio? How much a needle running time can go up to, maximum ever heard, ever imagined? 40%, 20%. 30%. See, in the books or any literature, it is written that same 20 to 30, depending on if the long seams, probably it will go up to 30%. That's what, and otherwise it is anything between 20%. That means a factory, when they are at 25 or 30, they feel if the needle running time is coming at 25 to 30, that they should feel that we are at the benchmark level. If that is the international standard, why should I work harder? Believe me, because which is absolutely not intended, but actually the operation can be broken down into 2 categories. Not all operations are same. And which actually is possible because it was taken from the computer data. There are 2 types of operation. The type A is where you are not joining 2 parts. That means you are doing a top stitch. That means there is only one piece, probably you are folding and doing that. Obviously common sense says that there will be lesser handling, right? But we never thought that there will be too much of difference, but that's we are calling the type A. Type B is where we are supposed to join more than 1 part, not necessarily 2, but it can be more than 1 part. And the data for this 2 is entirely different. I can only say, because I cannot decidedly say that what exactly will be that, because type A need to be studied further, because what we know about all the factors, I think, is very well goes with type B type of operations. Whereas type A operations, and typically in any style, we have calculated for, or we have just counted for the 2 styles, like a complete shirt, suppose we say that how many operations will be of type B and how many will be of type A. If we try to do that, then generally we have seen that in at least in 2 styles, in one case it was 60% of type A, another case it was, I think, 53% of type A. So if we say even 50-50, then needle running time for type A operation actually average 42. So, and maximum gone up to 51%. And that's not a joke. That means all the top stitch type of operations, actually needle running time is not 30% or 25%, not limited to that. It can go further up. And in our study it shows average is 42%. Whereas the handling time for, this another interesting thing is the needle running time for the B type operation, which is around 25 or 26. Handling time during sewing, which probably we have never calculated, because we could not do this till this time, which was around 28% for the A type of operation and 37% for the B type of operation. The loading unloading time, which is put together for this study, but we can do it separately also. For A type of operation, A types are basically the top stitch types where the same piece is being turned, which is 30%, and whereas for the two pieces joining types are 38%, and so on, so on. So if you see that the majority of our understanding was going through with the B type of operation, whereas the A type of operations are, that means all those, probably that means in the 50% of the operations happening in any style, probably we can, let's say our benchmark should go up. So on average, should not be a 20 to 30%. So that means the potential to go up is there. And as I told you that this is not only smarter way of doing it, and because you do not have too much of cumbersome job, because people need, or this young generation needs, they according to their language they say no, we are not easy type or we are not lazy type, typically taken often, but they say that we are the smarter generation, so we want to do it the smarter way. So and they want to spend too much of time onto anything. But this is a very quick a motion study, which otherwise I told you that, let's say chart which take almost 1.5 hours, 1 hour 45 minutes in that case, which can be done if we restrict ourselves to only this 3 or 4 categories of time breaking, it can be done within a minute. Basically my point is that rather than thinking about the way or trying to restrict or trying to retrain, trying to find out probably expats, I guess there's no expats here, to do the job what we are saying that Indians cannot do it, so let's find out some Sri Lankans to do it. Probably if we look at little differently and try to, I call it a tagline I used to say, and I will repeat it, you should be approximately right rather than accurately wrong, which means that, because we are talking about the data which is generating out of human beings. So rather than getting into too much of depth and getting into, taking too much of time, do a little bit of approximation, let's say acknowledge or let's say compromise a little bit, but give it faster, and probably young generation will like it. So these are some of the probably questions you can ask, that why you are doing that. Not necessarily that we need to do the way we used to do. And focus on your target. Is it the needle running time I am supposed to address? Is it the handling time during sewing I am supposed to address? Is it the loading unloading time I am supposed to address? Is the speed of, am I doing too much of this kind of movement, which will come out from your study very easily, rather than going for a chart for the sake of filling up the charts. And because I have an IE department, look at little differently. That's what my, let's say, I'm not saying prescriptive, because that's what it came out from this study. And basically, just as at the last point I said that, trying to remove the longer or let's say bigger span movement and try to restrict it to smaller, automatically time will come down, because that's the, let's say thumb rule of any ergonomic assessment. If that is not enough, anybody has ever heard of apps for doing the time study? If still young generation doesn't want to do this, download an app for Android, will run in the Android, 300 rupees only. There are frees also available. This one is from 300 rupees. And give them, at least let them do some time study in the floor the way they want. And do not give them a stopwatch which they find it very difficult to struggle to handle. And this one is 300, even though this does not give you the breakup the way I suggested, but it gives you the way at least you do it. And it will be very easy because it has a camera, so from their phone itself they can do it. This is it's $4.99 actually. And there is a free one also available. I don't know how exactly that works. I think that's enough, bro, probably, if you can take some of the young guys to there in the floor to do the time study. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jana.
Yeah.
I think you're,
I can take the question from here if anybody wanted to ask. I can show you the, if I don't know how much time is left. If anybody
we
actually
have
wanted to see.
We have 10 minutes.
You have 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Anybody wanted to see the software? See, the software used for motion analysis is free of cost available. If anybody is aware about the open source softwares, which are not to be bought, there is a separate category of, so this is we have used the open source software. You take a video of the operations, put it there, and it will do it for you. Anybody want to see it? I can show you.
I think we have time. You can show us.
The software we use, the name is Kinovia. Where is this? Yes. It need to be done actually slower speed, otherwise sometimes it will leave the path, that's all. It's the same operation if you see. And actually it can calculate the angles, speed, everything. So what I can show you, if you see this, that we have, because it's very, very quick actually, you can calculate this is done for all the operations. If you see the total operation cycle time, the speed of the hand, the time with that how much time the hand remained idle, all these things can be calculated and directly the data exports to the Excel, so you don't need to do too much of. And I think this kind of interface probably the young generation will love to do, rather than standing in the floor and taking but ultimately a job need to be done. So what your purpose is to finding out the actual what is happening and trying to improve it, where to address. The problem is currently the collection of the data and presenting it, which is very cumbersome job. Okay. Anybody, any other? Yeah. Yeah. So
for every operation
Yes. Actually, initially we have taken the videos as it is, but then we realized sometimes and often skin color actually goes with this brownish color of the table. Yeah. So sometimes the software, just skips the hand color with the other color. So that's the we have differentiated. That's all.
What's the name of the software?
Kinovia, Kinove. There are many of that. We have used one of this because you need to use the open sources so that there is no question of anything pirated software or whatever. There are paid software also available. Yeah.
How does it know that the needle is running at that point?
See, this software for the motion analysis is done separately for only hand movement. There was another which I have shown you in the line diagram, which I cannot carry it here. That's what actually I was telling Mr. Kesher, that you put me into the workshop, but I cannot bring the machine to show. If anybody interested, so we can actually take the equipment there to collect the needle running time. That's a separate equipment which need to be fixed into the sewing machine and with the laptop, so that which can collect the data. Both are not interlinked. Remember, this is separate and that is separate.
There is a separate software for that.
That is a separate software. It's not a software, it's only data collection. Software is only for doing the rating, which is proprietary, which we have developed, so which actually uses a lot many characteristics of your sewing and to tell that what where you are. Yes, yeah.
Mr. Jana, is there any support factor when you say you will need to improve your motions? We are doing the video analysis in our factory.
Okay. Using any software or?
No,
Okay.
just a video analysis. We take a video, improve on the hand motions and all.
Okay.
But I think that is not appropriate enough, actually. So,
Why do you
you
say
have any support factor to that if we want to improve on our hand motions? Is there any support factor to that?
I think, if you wanted to improve your hand motions, support factor, you mean to say the benchmarks?
Yeah, benchmarks, let's say benchmark has been decided by us only, but I don't think so it is been appropriate to enhance our production.
Like, we have tried to find out the difference between left hand motion and right hand motion. Generally, people feel for a right-handed operator, right hand should be moving faster, which is common sense.
Right.
But actually in this 1200 video, that did not came out. It's only 1% faster, which is negligible. Probably we cannot say that's a. I think what you can do is that you do not need anything else actually, because if it is not time study, then only you download this software. You already taking the videos, put the video in the software. Only thing is now onwards you need to take a video with that little bit of patches, put it under scotch tape, and then do that analysis, and then you yourself set your benchmark in terms of how much the percentages. See, I cannot tell you, like I showed you the analysis data, basically that how much the hand should be idle, how much the time it should move. Right now there is no benchmark because nobody has measured that way till now. So I cannot tell you, neither I know you can decide yourself, but you decide the best operator as your benchmark for the time being, but at least you know what I need to do. And as I told you, as a thumb rule, if you see that to put the sticker here and then see what is the movement, put the sticker there, see the movement, put the sticker here. Generally the movement of this should be the less, this should be lesser, this should be the highest, this should be a little more. Yes. So if it is something different, then you know where to address. It's like that, because I cannot, because as I told you that we have also done for the first time. Only thing is that we have only found that it is easier to collect the data and do the analysis very, very fast. And actually people enjoy it. Because I have not done this. This is done by the students I named you that. And he actually enjoyed doing it, which is very, very rare. Because students, otherwise if you send them with that stopwatch, half of the data is just mock-up data. They will not actually collect. Yes.
Sir, how about the fatigue?
Sorry.
We never provide any for the fatigue allowance. The person will have a fatigue.
Yes. See, fatigue allowance for earlier or now, that's an allowance which is generally for the factory. You need to decide yourself. For that there is a separate study which is a ratio delay study you need to do.
Time and motion is true.
Yeah.
You have to provide for everything.
Yes, but that you need to calculate. No, I'm saying, but that you need to calculate. There is another study to do the calculation, which is ratio delay study you need to do.
So people don't do it. Whatever data
Which is easier to do because in the books it is written 15%, 20%, so put that obviously. And a lot of times people say, why do we need to separately? Because if it is written in the ILO book, the problem is in one factory probably there are only toilets only in one floor. There are another factory probably toilets in every floor. There will be a water dispenser only in one corner. There will be another factory water dispenser at the end of every line. So which differs your PF&D allowance itself. because of the factory setup. So which need to be told, and then they will realize, yes, so they need to do a study. Agreed with you. It need to be done to decide what is the correct fact, obviously.
Sir, and I will tell you one thing.
Yes.
My name is C.K. Sethi. I joined garment industry in 1972. I am a textile technologist and MBA. At that time, my company, which was a sister concern of ICAHT, we were working with San Francisco Shirt Works. We had to give a open casting with the time and motion study. I, being an engineer, was entrusted with a job to take out the time. When we used to make a sample man, you know, we used to tell him, we are timing you, so take your time, the way you want. We used to measure with a stopwatch, proper stopwatch. That stopwatch is still with me, which is not available. So we used to take the time. We have taken the time, we have given the allowances, 20% we used to add, because a tailor will make 20% extra production than a sample tailor, because sample tailor does it slowly, but a good job. We used to give the time, we used to tell them the rate, they used to give us a fatigue allowance, they used to give us other allowances. There are so many other allowances which you have to add. I have a paper I can bring next time. And then we used to tell them the costing. This is the costing. They used to give us 50% profit at that time. The working was like that.
No, but what is your question? I didn't understand.
No, I am telling this was also the way we used
yes,
to do
yes,
at
definitely.
that time also.
Yeah.
Time and
So I would like to share something. Thank you, sir, for sharing such a knowledgeable thing.
No.
Yeah. For the benefit and knowledge of everybody sitting here, industrial engineering department has grown a lot. Industrial engineering department is now what we talk about is not only the time study and the work study. It has gone ahead so much in depth and detail that if I have to start counting, it starts from changeover time, changeover styling, style number of counts, days efficiency of each day's improvement, idle time study, earn minute, cost of earn minutes, what is our available minutes, what is the costed CMP. The industrial engineer is also used while they are costing a style to the buyer, giving the suggestions where we can reduce and how to reduce our cost, day-wise profit and loss accountability, line plan based on the costing done. Do we need to put it in more lines or less number of lines? And when we are doing the costing, at the time itself, we decide on the number of lines and number of operators, tailors, helpers we need to use. The training module with Mr. Devdas also shared, industrial engineers are used there. Industrial engineers are used in lean implementation. And along with that, with the HR aspects of activities of culture change and attitude change. This is just beginning. Industrial engineering, I feel, has grown a lot. I come from Gokuldas Exports, Bangalore. I have just come to Delhi now and joined a company over here. Industrial engineering is developing each and every day. So let us utilize the knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Sunana?
Yes, there is a comparison done, and it is comparison done with Pro SMV only, but I will not share. Yes, because that was because actually there's 3 projects which did in that, so that the other part actually is compared to that. So yes, but because this is here, it was not required. That's the reason I did not share. Yes, it did.
It's not exactly a question, you know.
Yeah.
Dr. Jana, I would say that you have drawn a very smart analogy saying that smart versus hard working, you know. I think this comes as an advisory for young professionals. Thank you.
You were advising them to work hard or smart?
Smart, okay. Because as you said, that app, at least it is better than not working on it.
Yeah.
So let them choose these.
Yes, because if the company on that excuse they can give tab to everybody, then at least they have to be doing something, right?